50% of New Zealand apples produced for export are sold into Asia. TNG Global has been working with Plant and Food Research to create safe and sustainable ways of producing residue-free and pest-free apples for these important markets.
Asia is a big developing market for us for our apple business. Starting a few years ago, it was all around UK, America and Europe. Now we're 50% into the Asian markets, which are predominantly China, Vietnam, Thailand, and a lot more developing ones around Japan, the lesser known ones, Indonesia, places like that, which are very much developing for us. There's quite a bit of difference between these markets. Our traditional markets are very mature markets. We know what we've got free trade agreements with them. The new Asian markets are very much new and developing. They have what we call OAP, so official assurance programs, where they're targeting specific protocols into the markets. We do need end-to-end programs, so we are focused on orchard initially, and then that will go right through the pack house. So we're registering our orchards with New Zealand Apple and Pear, and who do that on behalf of MPI. So back in September, we're saying we're committing these blocks to a market, and then we're following protocols to develop that. So they'll be risk management based, saying that these are blocks that we know might be at risk at the moment, but we can then implement various programs throughout the season, which mitigates that risk down to a point where it's negligible by the time we get into the market.
The real challenges that the New Zealand apple industry faces for exports is we're exporting fruit to around 70 countries, and it's meeting all of the phytosanitary and food safety requirements in those markets simultaneously out of the same orchards. So the problem for us is that historically we've supplied Europe, and there the focus has been for us to be residue-free and have the lowest possible residues. We've done that. The real challenge now that the apple industry faces is now, as we expand our export program into Asia, is also to be pest-free. Okay, so this is a trap from our untreated block. We have a number of market access technical issues that we have to overcome, but in terms of pest management into Asia in particular, is codling moth and apple leaf curling midge. Almost everybody would recognise codling moth. It burrows into the fruit, and there is a risk when that happens that fruit can end up in a packed carton, and then we have an onshore interception in those markets. Effectively, that can shut down trade almost instantly if that occurs. It's been a long time since that has actually happened in the New Zealand Apple Export Program because of the various approaches that we have to managing that risk. The other pest is apple leaf curling midge. The midges are very common, literally millions of midges per hectare. It's a tiny, tiny fly. This is the shoot damage that the apple leaf curling midge does. It's rightly named the apple leaf curling midge because it rolls the apple leaf. So this new and developing shoot, the eggs are laid in the shoot, and then the larvae of the midge develop inside the roll. Once they've completed their development inside that, then they drop from that roll either to the ground, but more often for us to the fruit, which is where the problem all starts. So it does very little damage to the tree, but it's the fact that the cocoons appear on the fruit.
Monitoring with a trap here,
We're looking to achieve near total control with a combination, first and foremost, of biological control, selective insecticide when we need that and apply that at the correct time, and then finally with this new technique that we've developed, which is called lure and kill, where we're actually disrupting the mating of the population, but also removing the male midge from the population through a lure and kill tactic. We've just commenced our third season of what I would call semi-commercial trials, as we are trying now to get this registered as a product that will be available to New Zealand apple growers. Very, very targeted use of the product, very, very low amounts of this lure and kill product used. It's not applied to the fruit at all. We're in the last stage now of pre-commercial trials before this product should become commercially available. For other growers who haven't yet got access to that because the product is not yet commercial. Then we have a national trapping program to try and ensure that growers in each region apply the selective insecticide at exactly the right time for their region and apple crop. This is a pheromone trap. This is a lure, sticky base. So the lure inside this rubber scepter here is the female sex pheromone that's been synthesized, manufactured version of the pheromone. That's quite a complex task in itself to identify the pheromone. But what this represents really is a super female. It's a highly concentrated form of the pheromone and is attractive to males for a long, long way around this particular trap. So we're using this here to monitor the success of the apple leaf curling midge control program, but also to time any insecticide measure for apple leaf curling midge. So this is what we would call a monitoring system. It's not a control system. The lure and kill treatment that we are developing is being applied as an additional measure, and it's applied at the very start of the season, because if we apply it early, we can effectively, through a single application, shut down all of the midge activity occurring in the block of apples for somewhere between 3 and 5 months, which is a single application virtually gets us through the whole season midge-free.
Thanks, New Zealand On Air.